All right. Hello, everyone, for the recording. Today's Thursday, November the 19th, 2020. And this is Wes Fryer here with Simon Sarkody. And we may have some others join us. We're not sure. But we wanted to just basically go over some of the new and I think very useful updates to Google Meet. We are anticipating the possibility of some remote learning. And I think it's definitely good to be aware of these things and also practice them a little bit. So I just have a slideshow with a few screenshots, and then we'll actually test these, kind of put these through the paces as far as how they work. One of the challenges of using a Google Meet to teach about Google Meets is that you can't see the menu of the Google Meets. And so what I've done is just a few screenshots. So in Google Meet now, you have what they're calling a security or meeting safety icon. And so this is at the bottom of your screen. And when you click on it, you can very readily change these things. A lot of these changes have been done because of teachers during remote learning since we started the COVID lockdowns back in March. Google's listened to teachers and has made a lot of these changes. I think they've also been watching Zoom because Zoom is very, very popular. It's used by a lot of teachers, and it still, in my mind, has more features. But Google Meet is closer to Zoom with these updates. So first one is meeting safety. Quick access, I think, is a good thing to have on. That means anybody at Casady who has a casady.org account can just immediately connect and join. If you try to have someone join who's not using a Casady Google account, they can still join, but you'll get a pop-up and you have to allow them to enter the room. So by default, that is turned on. Actually, all these settings are the default settings. But if you would have a situation where, for instance, you have other people outside the organization joining, maybe parents, and you want to make sure that nobody can just log in, that quick access allows you to basically lock the room so that you can still let other people in, but they won't jump in on you. And this actually might be for thinking about a parent conference. Anyway, you might just have that turned off, and that way you've got it's like you're at the door and you have to let people in individually. Not something you really want to have to do when you're just having your kids connect, but if you're doing a parent conference or something with people outside the school, that would be something to do. The other thing is, depending upon students and how you have things set up, you may not want students to be able to send a chat all the time or during the call. You may not want them to share their screen. So if you want to turn those things off, those are controls that are right at the bottom. Those are called host controls. And, we've probably heard of Zoom bombing, which is when people would share the link to their Zoom room, publicly, or their Zoom meeting. And then they had people join who, were trolling and harassing and doing inappropriate things. And, part of the secret of that is just being careful with who you share your link with, not posting it out on social media, etc. So those are some safety things that they've put in. The next thing you might notice when you are in the new Google Meet is when you go to the upper right corner, you're going to see a lovely new icon, which I'm going to be talking about, and I'll use my pointer here, which looks like a triangle, a square, and a circle. And that's the activities button, and we'll be talking about that quite a bit today. We already had the participants view here where we can see who's joined, and then you've also got the chat window. Something else to mention and remind everybody of is the best practice for Google Meets when we're using Google Meets with students is to always use the Google Meet link that's inside Google Classroom. That Google Classroom link has sort of special powers for us as teachers, and students cannot join the room until we join, and it's not open until we're there. And we are always the host. If you use a Google Meet link that you either just make from your calendar or you go to meet.google.com and make a meeting, the first person who joins that becomes the host, and they're the ones who can mute people, kick people out, have all the host controls. And we really don't want that to happen. So if you use the link that's at the top of your Google Classroom, and that's what you train your students to do, that really is the best practice. I don't have a screenshot of this, but if you click on the host controls, you'll see some of the same things we just saw first here under meeting safety, as far as turning screen sharing and chat messages on or off. And so that's really nice, because you may want students to use chat, at times, but you may not want it on all the time. And so it's nice that you can toggle that on and off, and just depending upon how things go and how you set up your expectations for your class, it's nice that it's so quick that you can turn that on or off. Oh, also you can pin yourself to the top. That's this little screenshot has a little thumb pin icon there on the right. And some teachers are actually connecting, and I was doing this today, my iPad to my meeting. And so depending upon how you want to share content, you can choose if you want to, I think maybe the pinning actually just puts it at the top for you. But the users, I think the participants are in charge of what screen that they're actually seeing. But this is where in the participants window you would mute people if you had to kick somebody out. I've never had to do that. That's where you would do that. What I'm going to be showing next is this activities button here that looks like the triangle, the square, and the circle. When you click on this is there's several things that are exciting, but this is one of the most important instructional enhancements to Google Meet. We can now do breakout rooms. We can send polls right inside the meeting, and we can also have Q&A, so students can post questions that either just you see or that both students and the teacher can see, and then you can answer those. And so that's really an efficient way sometimes to get questions and answer them, rather than having students needing to get the microphone, unmuting, talking. It can be more streamlined with just Q&A that you use that way. And I'm going to show those in just a second. But before I do, this is the last screenshot that I have. This is the menu that you will have now when you click on the three dots, which some people will call the hot dog, there in the bottom right corner. Now, there's also a new feature called Raise Hand, and so that's great. Your students can use that to raise their hand in the meeting to indicate they want to say something, because you may be not looking at all the students and not seeing them all. And so that is a good feature in terms of them getting your attention, that they've got a question. They can also turn on captions. Those are going to be generated live by Google, and that's pretty cool. And so it's something to let your students know about if they find they like that. Sometimes that's helpful. Now, it's not going to probably be 100% accurate. There could be some issues, but Google and its voice recognition has gotten really, really good. So the last time we had one of these Genius Bar meetups, we just talked about Jamboard. So I'm not going to right now go into tons of depth with that, but if we want to, we can definitely explore that, because Jamboard is now integrated right inside the Google Meet. I think it's generally best to make your Jamboard first before your meeting, and then you can make your slides. And if you want kids to work in groups, you can label your, they call them frames, but they're like slides. You can do that in advance. So if you choose Jamboard, it's going to say, do you want a new one or do you want an existing one? And if you choose a new one, it's also going to say, do you want to let the kids just view it or do you want to let them edit it? And everybody who is inside the meeting at the time you do it will receive the invitation, and they'll also be permitted to edit it. When I tried this with my students last week, there was a student who wasn't connected when we first started, and it ended up then that I had to add them manually to the Jamboard because, anyway, their name didn't get added right there at the beginning. So this is still something that's being worked on with Google, but it's come a long way, and it's nice that it's integrated right here. Another thing that you're going to see that's different, and I don't have another screenshot of it, but it's changed layout. You can now choose the tiled layout and see up to 49 other people, so 50 including yourself in a single meeting window. And that is really beneficial to be able to see all of your kids at once. You can also choose change background. Now, this is something we found is not present on the iPad for some reason. In fact, on the iPad, the new features here are not available inside the app for Google Meet. So what we're recommending, like for 6th grade that's using their iPads, we're recommending they don't download the app. They just go to Safari, because then they have these features about the polls and Q&A and breakout rooms and all that stuff. So change background means you can do some different things, like be able to blur your screen and some other stuff. So I'm going to stop presenting because I'll actually show a little bit of what that looks like. On the older Chromebooks, the kids don't have these options. I've gone up and brought up my my background. So now I just click blur. So now, students at home, they're in their bedroom or wherever they are, and they just don't want, their background to show. That's kind of nice. However, they may not have that option on an iPad, and if they have an older, slower Chromebook, they may not have it either. It may not work. They can also choose slight blur. I really like these backgrounds though. So there's some fireworks, there's space. I can have some water behind me. So that's cool. And that's an automatic green screen feature where the computer camera is just reading the background, and it can. Yesterday when I got my hair cut, it was like cutting off part of my hair. Maybe my hair is like more gel today. I don't know. So mileage may vary depending on what kind of do you've got, or whether you got a fancy hat on or a wig. I don't know. But anyway, you can check that out and see. But anyway, it's a way that, depending on where you are as well, you don't have to let people see the background. You can just, like you have a green screen there, you can, just put that background on, or you can go back to not, having anything. Those are pretty much the main, that's like my overview of the features. What I would think I want to do next is go through the activities. And so we'll do a poll and we'll do a Q&A, and I'll show you kind of how those look. You have any questions, Simon, about any of those so far? Or?
No, I'm actually looking forward to seeing the polls and the raise hand feature and all the other features.
Okay, awesome. Well, there's a slide chart. Maybe it will work to actually show it. I'm going to click present now and choose your entire screen. Maybe it will actually show you. You can see me creating the poll. I'm hoping it will. Maybe this will work. I've clicked on poll, and now I'm going to click on polls. Can you see this over on the side of my screen where I'm clicking? Oh, yes, that's great. Okay, so sweet. So you're ready to do an interactive. You can do these in advance, or you can do them on the fly. The way you're going to do this is you're just going to come up here to the top where your participants are, and you've got these 3 tabs up here. Participants, you've got chat. If I can click on it. So chat messages. Again, they've got a really fast, easily accessible toggle switch, so that if, as the teacher and host, I wanted to turn that off, I could turn off chat messages. By the way, if you do a Jamboard, the way that's shared with students is they get a text link in chat that they have to click on. So when you open up the Jamboard, it puts the link right into chat, they click it, and they go. Something else that's good to know, if a student joins late, they will not see the old chat. So if you are sharing a Padlet link or a Jamboard or whatever, you may have to paste that in again for them if somebody joins late, or you could have another student do that. But they don't see the chat history. They'll just see the new stuff. So I'm now going to the 3rd tab here where we have breakout rooms, polls, and Q&A. I'm going to start with polls. So I'm going to start a poll. I'm going to say favorite Halloween candy. And again, I think there's a way. I haven't done these in advance. I kind of think you can. I'm going to definitely vote for. I'm going to put sweet tarts and candy corn on there. What else would you put on as options for Halloween candy, Simon? Are you a chocolate fan?
I love Snickers.
Okay, let's do Snickers. What else? Let's do Starburst.
Starburst.
And let's just say anything chocolate. All right. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be quite as exciting with just a couple of us here. But I've done these now with both my 5th grade on the Chromebooks and then the 6th grade on their iPads. Like I said, we found out on the iPads they needed to be in Safari and not the app. But I think if I click save, I can go ahead. I don't know. I'll have to do the research to find out how I create those in advance. I don't know if you would just open up your Meet early or what that would be. I just was creating it and then clicking launch and going to it immediately. So what you need to do is go up to your upper right corner where you have the activities, and you should see polls, and there should be one that's live. Are you able to see that up there in the corner? You've got to actually drill down into it. So it doesn't just like pop up. You've got to click activities, polls, and then you should be able to vote. I have changed the setting to say show everyone the results. So why don't you go ahead and cast your vote, and we'll see your live result.
Okay.
And you can decide. I mean, I think it's pretty cool to have people vote. Yep, there you go. Vote for stickers. So, the kids like that. That was cool. They were able to see that live. We were able to talk about it. We're also able to see how many people, just doing the quick math, because I think it does the I was thinking it did a total votes. You have to do the math because I don't think it gives you a total. But we can see how many people still needed to vote in terms of participating and stuff like that. If we were going to be asking a content question about something about the lesson, what character do you do you connect with the most? That we could call out. Well, hey, somebody who answered, whoever the character was. Anyway, you don't have a attribution of who voted for what, but you can definitely use this for discussion and conversation, and being able to have that live is pretty cool. And they don't have to click out. That's one of the things I think is so good about this, because I've used the Google Forms and created those. But just seeing the kids in class practicing, man, it's hard, especially on these small Chromebooks where they're going somewhere else and then having to come back. And so it's really good. This is all right within the same Google Meet window, and they don't have to leave it. And that reminds me, we also probably need to tell our kids or remind them to close tabs, because the more tabs they have open, the more memory it takes. And so when they're going to come to a class, basically, I would say open up your Meet and then Google Classroom. That's it. They don't need to have a bunch of other things that are open. Okay, so I'm going to click in the poll. I could go ahead and create another poll, but that's how that works. So let me show you how the Q&A works. So I'm just going to click Q&A. It's real easy. You just say turn on. And so now questions are allowed. So again, you'll have to, Simon, drill into it. You got to click on the activities, click on Q&A, but go ahead and just post a question for me. And I use this with students. Again, we were just practicing, but we were talking about, I don't know, I think this was in Spanish. We were talking about Mexico. So I just, had them ask me questions about living in Mexico or about the country. And so those questions are going to pop up, and I'm going to see them. You can change the sort order to either oldest or newest first. And because it has popular on here, I think the students can also, oops, I closed Q&A. Sorry. Let me open it again. Go ahead and see if you can post a question in there for me, Simon.
Okay, it's a food question.
Okay.
Here it goes.
There it is. Sweet potato fries. My favorite place in my hometown of Manhattan, Kansas, closed, that introduced us to sweet potato fries, because I would say go there and just buy them. But yeah, get a good deep fryer and something that will cut them for you, because I think hand cut, you'd have to be pretty skilled to get them nice and small. I have choices on the question, so I can choose. You're able to see that right now, I think, on the screen.
Yes.
If I click mark as hidden, students can't see it. I still have it on my screen. I'm able to see who put in the question and the date and time. And then there's also a little thumbs up next to that. So that's really cool too, because you can crowdsource or brainstorm something with your kids. It doesn't have to be Q&A. It could also just be brainstorming. Hey guys, let's brainstorm our writing topic for this chapter. What should our question be? You could have kids go into breakout rooms, as we're going to see here in just a minute, And then when kids come back, you could say, all right, I'm going to open up the Q&A, and I want whoever your group leader was to put your, top question in here, and we're going to vote. So not only can kids dynamically see what others have put in, but they're going to be able to vote. And I know that Padlet has that too. That's kind of cool, where you can decide if you want them to be able to rate 1 to 5 or thumbs up, thumbs down. I think those things are cool, because that way, participating kids are being able to have voice. Not only somebody's coming up with the idea, but they're also able to, in this case, just, do a thumbs up. This doesn't let you rate 1 to 5 or anything like that. Padlet would actually maybe be a better way to do that if you wanted to be more sophisticated. But I think it's great. And once I have answered the question, I'll go ahead and click the checkbox just to show that I've answered the question. If you're getting a lot of questions, you can filter them. And so right now it's showing all questions, but I could choose to just show the unanswered questions. And so I'll be seeing the new things that are coming in. I can also change the sort order. So if I wanted to, for instance, see popular, if we've got a lot of things that kids have put in there and I'm letting them vote, let's see what the most popular, it's going to immediately move those to the top. So I think this is really cool. And there's different tools I've seen for these similar kinds of polling and survey questions and stuff like that. But I think it's great that they've got this in here, and this is just like the first iteration. So, it may get a little fancier. It's actually nice that it's not too complicated, because that's a deterrent, if there's just sometimes too many choices. So any thoughts or questions about polling or Q&A?
As far as Q&A, I definitely think that it's really good to have students use one interface. I know you mentioned Padlet earlier, just so that they're not maneuvering between this and Padlet or whatever. But I don't know, it just depends what you're doing. But I think like this could definitely work if you're including kids in a decision that you're making in a classroom or on an activity. Because in in-person classrooms, like everyone wants to comment and give feedback, but this can be a really easy way to kind of crowdsource the feedback that you're receiving.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely still love Padlet. And I think the fact that can be, we could say asynchronous, but I like that language of real time, anytime. Padlet can be the anytime. This is going to be the real time. They're going to have to be in class. I'm going to have to open the poll, or the Q&A. This is the real time. So I think it's great that it's here. It doesn't mean we don't want to use those other tools, but we'll have to, continue to train students on how to do that and how to come back. This is definitely going to be a lower barrier to entry as far as required training, because this is all inside the Google Meet. They don't have to leave the Google Meet, to do this stuff. But it still is a little training, because they got to go up there to the corner, click on activities. So you might even think, hopefully we'll be coming back face-to-face after Thanksgiving. I mean, I've been practicing little by little with my different sections on how to do this. Our procedure for going to the Google Meet is we go to Google Classroom. We use that link. I actually don't click on it at first, so they'll see, oh, it doesn't work. Well, that's because Dr. Fryer, the teacher, has to be there first. And I explain I'm usually going to be there about 10 minutes early if you want to come early. But, until I'm there, the link will not work. And then we've gone through, just a little bit of the polls and the Q&A. Of course, they've got to mute their microphones and turn off their audio so we don't have echo and squeal and all that. But one of the things it also was very good for was just troubleshooting, because same iPad, same procedure, but, in one of my 6th grade classes, 3 of the kids' cameras didn't work. And so that's where we said, well, what are we going to do? Well, let's quit the app and let's open it up again. And that didn't work. Okay, let's restart our iPad, and that worked. But going through that process, since we're not going to be with them at their house, if we're remote, those were good steps. Okay, let me go over breakout rooms, and then I think that's probably going to cover most of it. So I'm going to click on breakout rooms, and that's interesting. Do we have more people that have joined us? Interesting. Maybe it's just because they were invited directly. I was like, whoa. Yeah. So when I went to breakout rooms, I guess I had invited some of these other folks directly. So it actually has their names in here. Interesting. So my first choice is set up breakout rooms. So I'm going to click on that, and I go ahead and decide how many rooms do I want. I've used up to 6 rooms, but I mean, it's whatever you want to do. There was a really great post that Jennifer Gonzalez, who writes this blog called Cult of Pedagogy. She just posted it last night. And she just asked for best practices on breakout rooms. Most people were saying like 4 to 6, participants, something like that. But you just go ahead and decide how many that you want. It will automatically distribute your students for you into the rooms. And then if you want to, you can click and drag and then reallocate how you want them to be separated. You can put yourself in one of those if you want to, or you can leave yourself out. This is also nice that you can click shuffle. So depending upon how you want to do it, let it randomly assign, go to breakout rooms. They cannot go until I click open rooms. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put us both in breakout room number 1. I'm going to click open room, and then you should have that option to go, and we'll both go and we'll meet over there in the room.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and say that one more time. You got cut off.
Oh, I was just going to say breakout room can also be a place where our kids collaborate privately or without much supervision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And training them to do that and enabling them to do that. And so once the breakout rooms are open, then you as a teacher can go join whatever breakout rooms you want. They cannot float back and forth. And I don't even know if they can go back to the main room. I'm not sure about that. But they have limited ability to move. On the timer, you can set how long you want the breakout rooms to last. So if you just want to say, hey, we're going to be here for 10 minutes, before you open the breakout rooms, just click timer, set that for 10 minutes. And then they're just going to end after that. So I don't think you can change the 30 seconds that they have, in order to get back. So I think this is a really important tool and way that we can engage students. And I personally like the idea of instead, oh shoot, I think I just opened the breakout rooms again. Sorry.
Should I cancel it?
Yeah, I just closed them. They'll close. I like the idea, like with a Jamboard, of opening one for everybody, but then having they call them frames, but they're slides, and having those already created so then they can collaborate, because then you can see what everybody is doing and it builds together like Padlet. They all build together. But if they want to, they can, they could open their own jams in their breakout room. But I don't know how that works with access. I think they might have to give you access to it. I'm not exactly sure how that works.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's basically it as far as the new features and the updates.
Yeah, it looks good. I like it.
Yeah. I think they've done a good job responding to the questions, and, definitely the breakout rooms opens up a whole other possibility of how you're going to structure your class time But I think it'd be really important to set the expectations for how that's going to be. And then this was something else, and I can forward you this tweet that this Jennifer Gonzalez shared, because there were really great ideas people shared. Making thinking visible, giving the kids a challenge. Okay, guys, you're going into your breakout room. This is what I want you to do. And then there's going to be an assignment for how they're going to make their thinking visible, whether that's in a Padlet or it's in Jamboard, or they're going to make, build a slide together in Google Slides or something else, But I think that's really, really great. And then ideally, you've got that as you come back together to sort of give voice to be, okay, well, let's go to group 2. And one way you can structure that is by telling them, one of your assignments, guys, is I want you to have a spokesperson. This person is going to report on your group, what you all talked about, give us a report. And so when you come back in the group, you can go to each group. People can look at the slides of the Jamboard or the Padlet or whatever. But then you've already got kids prepped who are going to give a report. But you can also see what other content has been put in there and perhaps give voice to it or ask about it. And so I think that can be really, really good too, as far as the ways that you're asking them to make their thinking visible. And then you've got something to look at to ask for more elaboration or more detail, or maybe you're going to, ask the group for more because they didn't put a whole lot on there, whatever. But anyway, I thought all those were great suggestions. And that, to me, that's the biggest change here. Polls are great. That's cool. But the breakout room really gives us another tool to not just thinking about whole class instruction. Now we can break up into groups. Now we can, let kids interact more, because when we're in a big group, even if it's a small, class of like 12 or whatever, it's still limited. And if kids are in that smaller group, there's going to be, there's less chance of skating by without saying anything. More chances that they're going to be interacting and participating. So.
Great. I really like this. I think it's a huge upgrade, and it will make remote learning, remote teaching easier on our part, just kind of giving kids more venues, if you will, to work on their own and then come back to the class as a whole. Yeah. So I really love the breakout room.
And more chances for accountability, because we were sending them out to do things, but then there's that come back and let's check. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of good immediacy that it can create for collaboration, which you would want that to be happening anytime or asynchronously, but mileage varies with that. So I think the accountability pieces of this and doing this in class and all that are good. Yeah. Let me show you one more. Have you seen a Jamboard inside a Meet before?
No, I haven't.
Okay, let me just show you that really quick. So I'm gonna go up to, I'm going to my 3 dots to say more choices. I'm going to Whiteboard, open a Jam, and then I got the choice. If I've already created it, I could choose it from my drive, which actually I think I'm going to do that to just kind of show you one that I've done. So here is my collaboration that I think we did with 6th grade. Maybe this one was more detailed. And so now I'm going to open it up for you. And if I only wanted you to view it, I'd leave it set to view. But I'll go ahead and click edit. And that way you'll be able to type on it. So I could have done a new one. To see this, you're going to click over in the chat. And over in the chat, you should have a link. And when you click it, this is going to open in another window, but it should open up for you. And so now, in order to navigate this, at the top of the screen, there are arrows. So this is the first screen. And so now I'll go to the second one. And so we brainstormed ideas, and then I assigned them a different slide. This was pretty quick, but they were going to plan and sketch what they were going to draw. So anyway, the tools are over here on the side. The top one's the pen. The second one's the eraser. The arrow lets you select things and move stuff. So I can move these around. Text boxes are what I've got here at the top. And then you can put a picture in, but you can also draw. And then actually where's the sticky note? Yeah, this one right underneath is sticky note, and that's kind of cool. So there's limited colors, but you choose one of 5 colors, save it, and then it's putting it up there on the top. You can delete things. Also, this is cool. So if I click on at the very top of my my board, I can see that you're on slide 3. So I see a little icon with your initial. I can mouse over your name. And so this is really cool. You can sync, and you get some of this in a Google slideshow as well when you're collaborating. One thing that's important to know about Jamboard is right now it doesn't keep track of who did what. And there's not a revision history like there is in a Google slideshow or a document to be able to go back if somebody griefs or messes up or destroys somebody's work. So definitely very important to talk with kids about how we want to be respectful. Make sure you're writing on the correct slide. One of the things that I talked to them about is I said, guys, do you ever just come up to the teacher's whiteboard and just grab the pen and start scribbling all over the place? Like, no, we pretty much don't do that during class. Well, this is class. So just like we talk about with like math manipulatives and when we're going to get things out, kids want to play. So I think it can be good to have like a frame or a slide to say, okay, guys, we're going to have a little free draw, draw me this. And on the iPad, it actually has something called auto draw. So like they'll start to draw a dog and then it makes one. And anyway, those are kind of some fun features. But, we want to try to encourage them to, remember, this is class. We need to be carrying ourselves appropriately and all that good stuff. Yep. Okay, well, I think I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.